Guys, I just can't help but notice that we've shifted a little bit from all the things that have been stressful to acknowledging all the successes. And I feel like a question that all of you can take away from this short hour that we get to be together and just think about yourself on your own, which is, what have I learned about myself or being a mom or my family or whatever, however you want to define it, over the past year? What have I learned? So I think the opposite of everything that's been difficult is all the stuff, whether it be small or large, that we've learned. That whole notion of that I can be powerful by keeping people alive. I mean, it's just like giving me the shivers, like, whoa, who would have thought we would be saying words like that 18 months ago? Probably none of us. That's pretty powerful. So maybe that's a takeaway for everybody to give a little thought to.
Love that. Always another way to look at things, right? Awesome. All right. Well, I love this conversation. Given Kate actually has some really great productivity stuff that we would love to get into. Again, based on this conversation, if we have time for the breakout rooms, definitely would love to, but you ladies are doing such a phenomenal job of sharing so much. Like, I'm trying to hold back tears hearing some of this stuff over here. You guys, all of you ladies, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really, really moved by everything that you guys have been sharing. And with that, we would, of course, love to give you something to kind of work on and just to take away, besides, of course, these really great reflection questions, which thank you, Betsy, for that. I'll definitely be including those. But I would love to hear, Kate has some really, really awesome framework that I would love to hand back over to her.
Yeah, totally. And Monica, Calming Yoga, I love your name. I love that question you pose, as someone who is not a mom yet. And I think that this is a framework that I'm going to share with you that's applicable to, it doesn't matter if you're a mom or not, right? But I think the common theme that we really anticipated, and I think that there is a common thread through, is this idea of like success and feeling like I haven't done enough in a day, right? So what I wanted to do here was really share a framework that I think can be very helpful, and I've seen it helpful with my clients, on how we actually view productivity, right? Because when we think about productive, right, as in the traditional sense, I think there's this idea that we're very busy, right? Or we're just getting a lot of shit done, for lack of a better word, right? But really, when you kind of take a step back and think about all of the elements that make you productive, I like to put it in these 4 buckets, right? There's the first one is really around what's your mindset. And I know there's a lot of clients on the call. There's a lot of potential clients on the call. When I think about, even just coaching anyone, it starts with really where our mind is, right? And these are a lot of buzzwords that you've probably seen. These are a lot of, ideas that we work with a lot as coaches, but I'll just kind of run through some of these. So this idea of a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, you've probably seen, there's lots of articles out there. There's lots of podcasts out there on this, but the idea is really, how are we going to have a mindset that gives us, empowering beliefs, right? Like, and not limiting our potential. Then there's another mindset that we have to have called an abundance mindset. And this is one that I personally have had to work through. And that's this idea of there's enough to go around for all of us, right? Versus scarcity. And I think a lot of us tend to fall in the scarcity mindset. Fear of failure shows up a lot too. So this idea of like being willing to fail because I may learn. Having a long-term vision, right? Like and a lot of times in coaching, right, we live in the future, right? So thinking strategically and thinking not just in the short term, but in the long term. Having this ability to kind of color outside the lines and saying it's okay to break some rules. There is also magic in listening to your intuition. I cannot say this enough. I've seen it time and time again with my clients. If you were to close your eyes and make the decision quickly, go to that place, that gut, that intuition. There is magic there that happens within all of us. And it's incredibly important to tap into that. And then there's this idea of positivity, which I think you all can tell is something that I harp on a lot, and I'm a very positive person, but it's really, I read this article recently that was quite captivating, and it talked about how it's scientifically proven that optimists are not only happier than pessimists, but they're more successful. And even like this particular article was talking about entrepreneurs, right? And how that is like a key characteristic of a successful entrepreneur. So I thought that was just a really interesting way to kind of set up mindset, right? So that's really one of the key pillars. Then the next part of productivity is self-care, which I am going to be completely honest, as a mom, this is something that we do not do well at all. And that's why I just wanted to throw out a couple of tips there that like fall into the self-care bucket, because self-care does not, nor should we expect it to look like a spa day every week or having an hour of meditation to ourselves. Like, come on, I would be completely kidding myself if I was trying to tell you all to do that, because that is just not realistic, right? But self-care is about, look, like I got my Hydro Flask here. I fill this thing up. Staying hydrated is the number one thing you can do, right? Trying to get sleep, right? Like as much as you can, right? I recognize, with younger kids, and gosh, I have a baby too. And not every day is the same, right? But trying to get some rest the best you can. Having an attitude of gratitude, right? Like taking 10 minutes a day, or even just this idea of the to-do list, like what am I grateful for today? Scientifically proven to help your productivity. Trying something new, right? Like you can even do that with your kids, but like, Melissa, not to put you on the spot here, but I know like something that has helped with Melissa is picking up tennis again, right? And like making that a part of her self-care routine. And that also ties into moving your body, right? If we can get up and move our body. A big thing that I work with my clients on is mini routines, which I'm not going to get too much in detail about, but that's this idea of kind of having a similar system in place at the beginning of the day and the evening that you kind of follow, and just having sort of clear things that you do around that. Doesn't have to be overcomplicated. One thing that I do, and I've been doing now, is I don't have my phone next to my bed. And I read before bed for at least 10 minutes, right? Like that way I get a better night's sleep, and that's just my routine, right? Including, washing my face and doing all of those things, right? But I do that consistently every single day. And then the other one that I really love to talk about is 10 minutes of mindfulness, right? Like there is so much research out there, and there's a great, docuseries on Netflix right now about this, but it's this idea that 10 minutes of mindfulness can change your life. It can change your brain. It can actually reduce the part of your brain that causes stress and increase your ability to learn. So I encourage you guys to really look at this and figure out how you could maybe, I think we could all probably find 10 minutes at least in our day for self-care, right? And then, and sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I promise that I want to have a lot of dialogue on this. I just want to get through this. If we move to the bottom right, it's all around boundaries. So boundaries are kind of a big buzzword that we have, but really what this comes down to is, what are the things that you're not willing to negotiate on? What are the things that you need to be your best? And then clearly, getting really clear around, if you need that to be your best, what are some times that you're going to carve out throughout the day, or what do you need to communicate so that you can feel in alignment and be your best self, right? It starts with self-awareness. A clear example of a boundary that I think would be applicable to you all is that, and it's kind of ironic because the hour that this webinar is sort of the bewitching hour, but it's like you know, at 5 o'clock, like I shut my computer and I'm with my kid, right? Like that's 5 to 7, like that's my baby time, right? So I've carved out that clear boundary, right? And then the last piece, which I think is really where the meat is, right? If we can get all of those elements, is the strategy. And I don't know how many of you have seen Stacey Abrams' kind of idea of work life, what she calls work life Jenga, but I just think it is brilliant. It's this idea that you know, balance is just not realistic and should not be the yardstick that we're measuring success, but rather it should be called work-life Jenga, the game where we're strategically taking blocks out one at a time and placing them on top with the hope that the tower doesn't fall down, right? And so she uses really like it's, I think it was Eisenhower who derived this method, who distinguished tasks between important and urgent. And so Stacey Abrams is like, basically she puts it into like 4 buckets, right? There's the gotta do, which means, you know, there's urgency and it's time sensitive, right? It has a big impact. So those things should go to the top of the list. The need to do is really for you, right? Like, what do you need to be successful? And it has an impact on you. The ought to do is what you need to do for other people, right? It's someone else's important needs, right? That need your attention. And then the might get around to, right, probably fall low on that time sensitive and impact. So I can share that resource. There's some great articles out there, and honestly, just like read her books. She's a hero. But that's, you know, and there's so many different strategies that you could talk about, but those are ones that I found to be really just concrete and helpful resources for my clients, for myself. And I thought that for this audience, it would be a really relevant framework and something that you all could walk away with to feel like, okay, like if I could put all these pieces together, where am I struggling? Which pieces is not fitting in, and how can I kind of build a system so that I can, just be more productive and feel, honestly, it's like not even about, it's about productivity, but like just feel that sense of success, right? At the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of this, the school year, whatever that may look like, right? And measuring your goals up against that. So I just talked a lot. And I know that was like, this could probably be an 8-hour workshop. So I'm curious what's happening in the chat. Betsy, Jen, any thoughts? Like,
I just think this is great. That's my thought. I think it's fabulous. No, thank you for sharing this. And yeah, there's been some good dialogue. We have a couple resources. We'll follow up with some additional information that hopefully will be helpful for people to start to put some of this kind of stuff in action for sure. But yeah, lots of good conversation. And if anyone has any other thoughts too on things that what you've done recently, especially in this last year, where something happened in the last year that shifted for you, that now you always do X and it's working really well for you, or, something along those lines. Please don't hesitate to either share in the chat or feel free to unmute and share as well. Before we kind of move on, so we've got a couple like little things to close out and recap with. I just wanted to say a couple things too, because Betsy, really kind of pulled us in and pointed out a lot of the things that we were hearing consistently and stuff that was going on. I thought there was a lot of really great stuff there, but I wrote a couple notes down for myself that I wanted to just kind of quickly circle back to. And in addition to those questions that Kate and Betsy have sort of posed and challenged us with, I'd really encourage you guys to think as well about what would maybe be a skill that would be helpful to learn to maximize in one area of which I'd like to grow. I realize that sounds vague, but let me kind of give you an example of what I mean. So when we were talking a little bit about enabling and letting go, so those were some really great words: the ability to let go, maybe the ability to not be a perfectionist at home around my kids, or something along those lines, right? So be thinking about some of that stuff. But I wrote down some things that Betsy and Kate and I talk about with our leadership clients all the time. And if being a mom is not being a leader, I don't know what is. But like things like ownership and accountability. And what I always remind my managers is, for some reason, we have this perception as managers and leaders that we have to have all the answers. We have to give all the direction. We've got these like massive weights on our shoulders that we have to know everything. We're the experts, that we're the masters, we're the direction givers, we're the helpers, we're like everything. And that seems to translate as well to the mom world as well. But it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to turn it around on the other people, employees, children, whatever it is, fill in the blank, and say, well, what do you think? How would you handle that? What's a way you might approach that? So you could use some of those same coaching skills and questions and things and reverse it on them, maybe just as you would in the workforce. So what are maybe some skills that you use day to day? When do you, especially, because I know you're a great coach, what are those skills you use day to day at work that you could turn around and maybe use at home? And how could you put a little bit more ownership and accountability on the child, for example, to see if maybe it looks a little bit different and there's less weight on you and on your shoulders. So just like a little bit of a different perspective, but I want you to just think about that. Like, as a mom, do I have to have all the answers? No. Is it okay if I ask for help? Yes. Is it okay if other people make suggestions? Yes. So like the perfect example I tell people all the time, we're trying to get here. We know we want to get here. We want to solve this problem. We want to get this project completed. Does it really matter how we get there? Can we give some creativity and some flexibility and some freedom as to how we get there? When we have a hard time letting go, or we're perfectionists, or we do it the best, or we do it the fastest, it's really hard to not just tell people, but this is how you should do it. Well, maybe it takes the child 20 trips up and down the stairs to get everything up to their room instead of getting a bag and putting in a bag and carrying and making one trip. But they'll do it eventually. They'll figure it out, right? So where are we trying to go? And then what's that flexibility and creativity we can afford to get there? So just think about those things you're really good at in a work sense, and how can you apply some of those skills to home? How can you take your leadership skills and use them as a parent? That was my rant. That was my 2 cents.
Jen, I think that's great, because it goes in both directions. I just emailed the other coaches on the line, but this morning, and we'll send you guys a link to this, I was listening to an Oprah podcast, and one of the people that she had a little snippet from was Brene Brown, who really reminded everybody of what our goal is as parents, which is really to raise people who can navigate this planet on their own 2 feet with confidence and kindness and a whole bunch of other attributes. It's really quite beautiful. So we'll share it with you guys. But I think, not unlike at work, we need to keep the end game in mind. Your end game may be, 10 o'clock tonight when your kids are sleeping. Your end game may be when they get to high school or out of diapers or whatever it is. But keeping your end game in mind so that you have a little perspective as you navigate.
And I know I just have one thing I wanted to add too. I'm springing this on Jill a little unexpectedly, so I apologize still. We've got tons of great stuff in the comments and in the chat. We will make sure to pull all that out. But I think we'll probably, when we send this recording out, we'll cut it at like about 40 minutes or so in. We'll remove all that kind of personal conversation up front, and we'll start at that productivity point, just so that you guys are aware. We'll figure out how to do that creatively on our end, just so we can kind of keep some of that personal conversation personal. But Jill's got some slides and things to share, but just as a recap, I mean, we could talk for hours here. I mean, just a casual conversation, asking questions, getting us thinking. I sincerely hope all of you have just written down, even if it's just one thought, one takeaway, one question, one thing you want to go think about more, whatever that looks like for you. Hopefully there's just something that's there. And even if it's, I really want to reach out to so-and-so, someone else who's here, please, that is wonderful. So we hope that you kind of have that takeaway. Jill's got a slide she can share. We do have, for those of you who are not clients, if you are interested, we do have a lovely special Mom's Day promo that's going on right now that you can take advantage of. If you would like to book a complimentary consult, then you can get that 25% off, Mom 25 at checkout. And any of us can answer questions about that. You're welcome to book that consult, which will be with one of our relationship strategists who really are an expert as to who all of our coaches are, what they specialize in, and how they can help. But Jill can help, Betsy can help, Kate can help, I can help. We're all here as well. And really, if any of you just want to continue the conversation, just even a little bit over email, please don't hesitate to just send us a note. Final thoughts, something that you just don't want to forget. And if you are a client and there's something that you know you want to cover in your next session, send that to your coach now while it's on your brain so that you don't forget. We can make sure we get that in next time. But we really just wanted to have this space, hold this space, have a dialogue. And I'm glad that only whatever this is, 15 or so people joined, because it's been really nice to just sort of allow you guys to come off mute and share and chat. And like Betsy said, it feels a lot more like group coaching and just sort of this ability to be here for each other, not just by way of Betsy, Kate, and I, because again, we're not experts. We're just here facilitating dialogue, but all of you sharing with each other and sharing thoughts and ideas. And it would be fun to continue that if that's something that people are interested in. So are there any last questions, comments, thoughts, anything anyone else would like to share?
I would just say, like, for any of those clients on the call, and I'm going to say this, but I feel like Jen and Betsy and Jill, you'd also echo, like, we do offer celebrity sessions. So if you are interested in any of the things that I shared, or Jen or Betsy or Jill, like, I feel like we all have such a unique perspective. So make sure to just keep that in the back of your mind. And for those of you who aren't members, that's where you can work with multiple coaches across our, just being as part of a member, which is, I feel like, a really great benefit. And I think we're all, Betsy, are we all taking on clients right now, or?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
We have a lot of
book
other
that
great,
consult.
great coaches who aren't even on the call. So we're glad
Yeah.
to help you understand what their specialties are. So.
Yes. And then for those of you who are members too, if you refer someone to us, you'll get a free coaching session, and they will get a free coaching session too. So don't forget that.
In closure, you guys, I think just as a senior mom on this team, I just want to say that the biggest thing I think I've learned over the past 15 months, 18 months, whatever it's been, is just how incredibly hard, passionate, and dedicated moms are in general, working moms who are working outside of the home as well, in particular. And I have really deep respect for all of you and the hard work that you're doing, not to mention all of the many people out there who are, busting their butts day and night, who don't have the time or awareness that coaching or being in a room with other people, sharing these stories, how meaningful that can be. And so just the simple fact of showing up and being there, as coaches, but also as a human being, I just have deep respect that you guys all took this time. And if you can pay it forward with friends or family or others by letting them tell their stories, you will be doing a great service to others. And I'm sure you're all capable to do that.
Thanks, Betsy.
Thanks, Betsy.
Amazing. Ladies, you're getting me so emotional. I'm not even a mom yet. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
We're all gonna have very high empathy pulls and pressure on our body after today, but that's okay. Like, go do a little 5 or 10 minute meditation and drink a big glass of water, and there you go.
There you go. Amazing.
I love it.
All right. Well, any last questions, comments before we go? I think that's it. We're ready to wrap it up for the evening.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies.
My favorite mentor, when I was pregnant, said to me that parenthood is the hardest job you'll ever love. And it's just stuck with me. And I just wanted to end with that, because I know all of you connect so much with that, and it's so spot on. And I just love that.
Perfect. What a way to end it. All right. I love it.
Thanks all.
Thanks everyone. Have a great night.
Keep an eye out for that recap resources. Thank you, ladies. Thanks, coaches.
Thank you.
Oh, what was that? No? Okay.